Let me take you back to one of my most embarrassing professional moments. I was in a leadership meeting years ago. My team had worked on a campaign for weeks. I had a critical insight, one I knew could shift our strategy. Everyone turned towards me and my manager, he asked me, Sarika, can you please present this? And in that moment, I don't know what happened to me. I blanked. It wasn't like I didn't know. I did. I knew the project inside out. The idea was there, but I couldn't find the words. I stumbled through a half-thought sentence, trailed off awkwardly, and someone else actually rescued me. That moment passed, I was so upset and embarrassed, I just kept asking myself, what just happened? Have you experienced something like this, where your brain is having a TED talk but your mouth's on mute? Maybe you're in a meeting, your idea is buzzing like firefly, glowing in your head, but when it's your turn to speak, you fumble, you freeze, or worse, you say something completely off track. And then spend the next 2 hours replaying it in your head like a bad movie, like I did. Trust me, it stings so bad, I know it. Even now when I'm talking about it years later, I can relive that moment and I try to replay and edit it, but, well, it's gone. Hey everyone, welcome back to Communicate 101 Speaking Writing Tips, the podcast where we break down everyday communication moments and make them less awkward, more awesome. I'm your host Sarika Singh and today we are unwrapping a topic that's cute on the outside, but kind of messy on the inside. It's that moment when your brain is like, oh, I've got this, but your mouth? Total dhokha, total betrayal. It's called, I know what I want to say, but I just can't say it. Whether it's a big presentation, a crucial conversation with a loved one, or just speaking up in a group, many people struggle with expressing their thoughts clearly under pressure. Why does this happen? What to do if this happens? Today we'll talk about all that and much more. We'll find solutions that are not only practical but also simple and easy to follow. Let's break it down. So what does happen? The science bit. Let's get into the why of this phenomena, where you know what to say, but you can't say it. This usually comes to a two-key brain system compromise. The first one, it is called a working memory overload. Let me simplify it for you. Now, your working memory is like a mental notepad. It holds the thoughts while you're speaking or while you're listening, but under stress, let's say you're in a meeting or you're in a conflict, that time your working memory gets cluttered. The brain, it prioritizes survival over expression. It's called a cognitive load in technical terms. When that spikes, when the memory overload becomes too difficult to handle, the access to language lessens, the clarity drops. Studies by psychologist John Sweller show that when people are under pressure, even a few extra cognitive commands like anticipating how others might judge them, that can impair performance, especially verbal fluency. So trust me when I say it, your brain is not the problem. Your bandwidth is. Think of your brain like a smartphone. You've got those amazing apps, creativity, vocabulary, all those ideas. But the moment stress hits, let's say in a meeting or in a conflict, it's like your phone, the RAM is full. It starts buffering, you lag, you freeze. Why? Because your working memory, your phone's memory, the mental scratch pad that helps you hold and juggle thoughts, gets hijacked by stress. It's like trying to write a love letter while your brain is yelling, don't mess this up. So much pressure. In those moments, your brain is not dumb. Your brain is just overloaded. So the problem is not your brain. The problem is the overload, the bandwidth it needs to be effective. That's the first reason, the first brain system which has gotten compromised. Now there is one more system which has got hijacked. Have you heard of the word amygdala? If you heard my earlier podcast, you must have heard about it. At least then. Otherwise, of course, Google feeds us or the internet feeds us with a lot of information than we really need to know. But well, amygdala is the brain's emotional center. A lot of times, you become blank, you freeze because of this emotional center getting hijacked. Technically, it's called the amygdala hijack. Coined by Daniel Goleman, this happens when your brain's emotional center, that is the amygdala, it detects a threat like public speaking or a potential embarrassment. And that hijacks your rational brain, the prefrontal cortex. Even if the threat is just judgment or just an awkward silence, your body goes into that flight or fight mode. The blood flow reduces to the language centers. And you start rambling or you freeze or you say something weird. A lot of this isn't about vocabulary, isn't about grammar. It's basically about fear of looking stupid, fear of being judged, or fear of saying the wrong thing. Your idea may be crystal clear in your mind. But the moment you imagine someone reacting negatively, your brain slams on the brakes. That's why even brilliant thinkers sometimes sound unsure when they speak. Because speaking is not just a skill, it's an emotional event. So now that we've understood what are the causative reasons, what is it that we can do about them? Now the good news, this can be fixed, not overnight, but over time. I'll share 3 powerful things that can really help. Where? In the next leg. Okay, story time. A few years ago, I attended a training workshop with a room full of senior leaders, very polished, very powerful people. The trainer, also a friend now, he had prepped hard. His notes were detailed. Bullet points? Oh yes, there were layers of them. And when it was his turn to speak, he made one crucial mistake. He tried to say it all, like all of it. The context, the background, the nuance, the numbers, the inspiration behind the idea. It was like he was writing a novel out loud, but in real time. He tried to say it all in one go. But he was smart. Halfway through it. He saw that look on the audience's faces. You know the one, the slow blink, the polite head tilt, the silent mental exit of your audience? That look. Like a genius, he pivoted. He immediately started an interactive game. Everyone woke up, there was laughter, there was activity in the room, and he got back into the game. That's when I learned. Under pressure, long thoughts, hear my words, long thoughts collapse. Short thoughts survive. Tough? Complicated? Let me simplify this for you. When you're trying to speak a perfect paragraph and you're nervous, believe you me, that's a bad idea. You try splitting that big perfect paragraph into small bites. Then that becomes a good idea. So long thoughts collapse. Short thoughts survive whenever you're under pressure. Chunk your thoughts into sound bites, digestible little bites. They're easier to say, they're easier to hear. Try these. Here's the challenge I see. Or say, one thing that might help is blah, blah, blah. What I'm really trying to say is blah, blah, blah. These aren't filler phrases. They're basically mental stepping stones. They break big tangled ideas into digestible bites. They give your brain some breathing space and they give you a listener clarity. Think of it this way. You're not delivering Shakespeare, right? You're passing the salt. Keep it simple. Keep it clear. Try this out while I move on to strategy number 2. in the next leg. When you have experience of 30 years behind you, you really have a truckload of stories, experiences to share. This one time I had to give a difficult feedback to a colleague, someone I really liked, but whose work had slipped. So it was a tough conversation I was going to have. I walked into the room with my heart actually pounding. My brain was saying one thing, my mouth was saying the other thing, and somewhere in between I forgot what the point I was even trying to make. And I wish that time I had known this trick back. The trick is called anchor phrases. Your verbal life jacket, anchor phrases. These are preloaded sentences that help you grab the mic from your swirling thoughts and recenter them. That's what life jackets do, right? That's why I call them verbal life jackets. They keep you afloat even when emotional waves are too choppy. Here are a few that work wonders. Now, the one I tried was, here's what I'm trying to get at. So, Sudhir, blah, blah, blah. This is what I said. You can use some anchor phrases like, let me think out loud for a second, or give me a moment to collect my thoughts. Anchor some phrases into your conversation so that you split the big sentences into smaller, digestible bites and you're able to say what you're actually trying to say. What's beautiful about these? These anchor phrases signal calm, not confusion. They show that you're thoughtful, you're not unprepared. And most importantly, they buy you a few extra seconds to breathe, to regroup your thoughts and be human. Because let's be honest, we all wish we had the perfect comeback or the flawless pitch. But more than often, what we need is just that few extra seconds. And anchor phrases give you that extra second. Sometimes that's all it takes to train a wreck into a breakthrough. That's also a third strategy there, which is extremely powerful. And I'm going to share it very soon. Meanwhile, I would love to get your feedback if you try the first and the second strategy and tell me how it worked for you. Do you remember what these two strategies were? Well, just rewind, hear it again, and then try them out while we move into the next leg. Stay tuned. Most of us rehearse in our heads. It's like practicing swimming on your couch. Because when you rehearse like a talker and not a thinker, it changes the game. Because you've rehearsed the conversations in your heads, when it's time to speak, your mouth hasn't practiced. So, speak your thoughts aloud. Literally, speak them out loud. On your phone, to the mirror, while walking the dog, anywhere. You'll be shocked how different it feels when you hear yourself. It's not just about the idea. Talking is a muscle, not a memory game. In fact, studies show that people who verbalize their thoughts before high-stake moments perform way better than those who only visualize them. Your brain connects differently when your vocal cords are involved. Try it and let me know if it worked for you. But how will you tell me? Oh, it's simple. You can message me on my Insta handle, which is communicate101, or you can message me on my website, which is communicate101.com. If these tips worked for you, don't forget to tag me in your story. But I love your feedback. Based on your feedback, I base my podcast based on the questions you ask me, based on the communication challenges you're facing, because I want to talk about what you want me to talk about. You do know what you want to say. You just need to make space for it to come out without judgment, without panic, without that performance pressure. Instead of thinking this has to be perfect, try this thought. This is a conversation. There's no need for perfection. Remind yourself you're allowed to pause, you're allowed to stumble. You just have to convey the idea that you have in your head. Who's going after flawless? You're even allowed to say, give me a second to gather my thoughts. Every great communicator you admire today, they weren't born fluent. They just practiced showing up, even when their voice shook. So the next time you feel stuck, tell yourself, I don't need to say it perfectly. I just need to say it honestly. That's where real communication begins. For me, communication is not flawless. It is full of all the flaws. And even while recording this podcast, I've noticed I fumbled a couple of times. I have said maybe mispronounced a particular word, but I haven't gone back to edit it or cut it or chop it because this conversation is real. Say it messy, say it scared, but say it anyway. Thanks for hanging out with me on Communicate 101 Speaking Writing Tips. I'm yours only, Sarika Singh. And if today's episode helped you find your voice, even just a little bit, do me a favor, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Tag me at Communicate101 on Instagram or drop me a note at info@sarikasingh.in. I love to hear your stories, your stumbles, your successes, all of it. Until next time, pause, breathe, and speak your truth. Because you do know what you want to say, and the world needs to hear it. Thank you for listening to this episode of Communicate 101 Speaking Writing Tips with Sarika Singh. If you want to be notified of upcoming episodes, be sure to hit the subscribe button and follow the podcast. I'll be back to share more stories, more life experiences, and more communication tips every Friday. If you want to reach me or connect with me, just put your comments in the comment box below or mail me at info@sarikasingh.in. I know you're going to rate and review this podcast, so a big thank you in advance. Stay tuned and think about what we talked today.